Alright, g'day everyone, Matt and Holly here. Thought we'd just do a wrap up pretty much of our whole year. And if you're thinking about travelling around Australia, then hopefully we can have some tips in here for you. Things that we loved, things that went wrong, mods we had to do on the road.
Yep.
A bit about budget, K's travelled, places we loved. All
Yeah.
right, so we'll just run through what we did this year and we'll get started. All right, so where did we go this year? So our first big trip of the year was Kangaroo Island. We're really happy with that video. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely see it. We'll link it up above. We put a lot of effort into that one. That was a fantastic trip at the start of the year. What did we do after that?
Then we went to Robe and Toolangi State Forest, so Victoria and SA, for a shoot around April.
Yeah, we went Carpenter's Rocks to Robe.
Yeah.
So that was a really fun trip. Went with Sabre off-road, a really good group of people. That was a lot of fun and good chance to test Elsie on the sand.
Yes, and actually in mud as well.
And mud, yeah.
Yeah,
we
a lot
definitely
of
did some
four-wheel
mud.
driving.
Yeah, and then after that we had our Simpson trip planned. So we were planning on just doing the Madigan line. And the story was pretty much as soon as we started it, everything went pretty bad in New South Wales. Lockdown happened, COVID, all that kind of thing. So we didn't go home. So it ended up being a 5-month trip.
Yes.
Run us through where we went that trip, Hole.
So after we did the Madigan line, we went up to tropical North Queensland. We spent about 2 months up there. We actually did work for Tourism Tropical North Queensland while we were there. We then popped down to Fraser Island for a shoot, Glasshouse Mountains, went to Mackay, spent some time with some friends.
Yep, stayed fair while in Mackay.
Yeah.
And then we went from Mackay down to Inaminka, essentially. We went through down sort of bottom of Queensland and then across.
Yeah.
It's a big trip. And then from Inaminka, we did the Strathclyde track into the Flinders Ranges. And then we went down to the Coorong where we met up with Ronnie and Bo and Kimmy from Outback Cleanups. After that, we went to the Adelaide show.
After Adelaide, we then went across the Nullarbor with a group of people. Went to a really cool camp spot along the Nullarbor and then went to Perth for the Perth 4-wheel drive show.
And then went home.
Yeah.
So we just blasted it home. So it was a massive trip. Ended up being 5 months on the road. That trip was only supposed to be sort of
1 month.
1 month. But anyway, that was, really fun, sort of unexpected thing to do. We did some really cool, challenging things like the Madigan line, Simpson Desert and Elsie was definitely a big thing. But just going pretty much up to the top of the country, down to Adelaide and then across and back, a huge amount of Ks. So I think the next thing we'll probably get on to is how much we spent. And
how many Ks we travelled roughly.
well, how many Ks did we travel actually?
So last year we think we did around about 40,000 for the year. For the last 5-month trip we did probably between 25 to 30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
around 25. So
Yeah.
big Ks. Big Ks.
A lot of Ks in Elsie.
Yeah, a lot of Ks in the old 40. All right, so budget. How much did we spend? Now, it's a bit hard to sort of say this time around because the first time we travelled around Australia, we did stick to a budget. We were relying off savings. And the way we kept ourselves honest on that trip was we had money go out of both of our accounts into a separate account, which had its own debit card. I think it was like $500 a week towards the end, $550 a week. And then we knew we had $550 that we could just see on a quick, app in our phone. We could just see quickly how much we had left. And then we would spend that. If we went over, then we knew about it because we had to physically transfer money across.
Yes.
And if we were under, then it would just transfer over to the next week. So you might have $600 if you only spent $500 for the week. So that was a really good way to keep honest. This time around, it was completely different because we were making money on the road as we were traveling. A little bit through YouTube, but mainly just through actual paid work with tourism boards. So Tropical North Queensland, we did a bit of work for them and just heaps of other stuff on the road that we sort of managed to pick up. So budget, it's a bit hard to really quantify.
Yeah, we would say we probably were more on the $600 per week to $1,000, depending on what we did and how far we travelled.
But then there was a couple of weeks in Mackay where we just were staying at a friend's place and we spent nothing. So
we also had more expenses this year coming out of our accounts than we did when we travelled around full time in 2019.
Still paying rent.
Paying rent. We had phone bills for both of us that were coming out. things like that we made sure we didn't have when we travelled around.
Yeah.
So we needed money coming in for money to go out.
So we had a few more expenses on the road. Things just unexpected that we needed to buy just for our business. We had to buy a new camera. We had to buy a new laptop. Just those kind of things kind of blew it out a little bit.
And also travelling around in a 40-year-old car, we just had a few gremlins that kept popping up, a few things that we just needed to replace just because it's a 40-year-old car that we didn't have to do when we were travelling around in the Hilux.
Yeah, so what do we actually repair?
So we got
auto elects about 1 million times.
Yeah, went to a lot of auto elects for the same issue. We then got a new exhaust in Mackay.
Look, Elsie ran really well, considering like she went really well. It was just the one issue mainly. It was the starting issues, and that just kept popping its head up all over the place. We went to like 4 or 5 auto elects. None of them really fixed it.
It was always a different kind of issue. Like the same issue, but they all had a different
and then none of them really fixed it
Yeah.
in the end. It was sort of starting all right now, but it's a little bit dicky. But anyway, 40-year-old car, what do you expect?
Exactly. And we also did a service up in Atherton, mainly just because doing a service on the road's a bit harder. We did one in Mackay at Cameron Court's place, but needed to do one when we were up in Atherton. It was just easier to pay a mechanic to do it.
Yeah, that's right. Another major upgrade that we did on the road was our suspension. So we did that through Petters, and that was amazing. She really needed it, poor Elsie, from the start.
Yeah.
Could have really used it in the Simpson trip. But after we got that done, amazing.
Yes.
Rode so much better. Flexes
It
really
was
well
easier to
off-road.
drive as well.
Easier to drive. Just it improved everything about the car.
Yeah.
So that was really good. As we said, exhaust, because it nearly fell off in the Simpson Desert. The old one, and a new awning as well.
Oh yes. Yep.
So we only got that on right at the end of the trip, but we got the Camp King 270-degree awning, self-supporting. It's amazing. We loved it on the trip back, and we're pretty keen to get out and use it a bit more now. So
there was a lot of times up in the tropics where we wished we had wrap-around awning because it was pouring down with rain, and we couldn't make lunch because the car was full of stuff.
So no, really excited for that awning. All right, we'll go on to talk about some products and some things that were on the car that we just absolutely loved on the trip.
Without.
We couldn't have done the trip without, or it would have made the experience that much worse without them. So, all right. So first and foremost, we'll go to the seats. So Shillman seats. We've talked about these a lot. We got them on the car just before we left, and I was so thankful because the old seats we had were rubbish. And just an absolute massive improvement for those big Ks. I think your seats in your car is probably one of the most overlooked modifications that people don't do. People put winches on and barely ever use them, but as an item that you probably use every day, like you've got your tent, like a camp chair, and probably the seats you sit in, you know what I mean? Like that would be one of the most used things you spend the most hours in or on your trip. So massive improvement. I would definitely recommend looking at upgrading your seats if you've got a pretty uncomfortable old or newer car. Definitely check those out. Next best thing,
the tent. So we've had this tent on for almost 12 months now, and it just makes camping and traveling and living on the road so much more comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, because this trip turned from 1 month into 5, the trip at the end.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have a comfortable, convenient way to sleep, like it just, I don't know, would have been crap. Our old tent was leaking by the end of its life. It wasn't as big, wasn't as comfortable.
Holds up in really crazy weather.
Yeah.
We had it in some hectic weather.
Heavy rain.
Yeah, wind.
No water went in, no dust. It's a double mattress inside. We had a heated blanket, which was fantastic for our first night camping. It was like -5.
Yeah.
-5 near Canberra. We had the heated blanket on all night, so
it's cold.
So that was a massive thing for the trip, and really helped for the whole trip. All right, I've got one here that I threw in, Audible. I really liked Audible this trip. We did a lot of Ks and we spent a lot of hours driving. We listened to the whole Harry Potter series because Holly hasn't read them. So we listened to all of Harry Potter, which is just awesome. It's read by Stephen Fry and it's just so good. Yeah, we really sunk some hours into that. From book, I think book 2 to 7. So
yes.
Yeah.
If you have any recommendations of things to listen to as well, let us know in the comments because we're forever searching.
Yeah, you're always looking for a good book, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a recommendation of a really good audio book, list it below. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah.
All right. Next sort of thing we got this trip actually that we really loved in it was a navigation device, which we haven't really had before in the form of a iPad. We actually got a new iPad second hand.
Yeah.
We got it for a bit of a steal. And yeah, it was really good for us. Like I can use it for drawing and all that kind of thing. But as a navigation device, the HEMA maps on it, don't get HEMA Explorer, get HEMA Maps. That is a massive, HEMA Explorer sucks on the iPad. HEMA Maps, it's just like the actual physical paper maps you get, except you can see a little location where you are on the map, as like with a GPS. Make sure if you're going to get an iPad, you get one with cellular and GPS. You don't need the cellular, but you need the GPS, which they both come together. So you don't need a plan with it. You just need the GPS module to work, and you can see where you are. And that was really good to have a proper navigation device. HEMA Maps, the physical maps, fantastic. So that was really good. We really liked it this trip.
So another thing I really liked, what we both did, was just being able to get inside the troopy. Because we did have some pretty crazy weather, the amount of times it was good just to get inside and escape it was great. Yeah. So the actual living layout inside the troopy.
Just the troopy in general. Just like that troopy setup, we love it. Yeah, being able to get inside it's a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're still only the size of a car. Like you're not towing, you're not a bus. So
great for 2 people. Yeah. So we love that. Okay, next thing was the center console freezer.
Yes.
So it's our Dometic CF11, which is in between the seats. You can use it as an armrest when you're just cruising along the road.
Yeah.
But we actually had it set up as a freezer, so it was like running -18 the whole time.
Yeah. With icy poles.
Yeah, we had icy poles in it because obviously Elsie gets hot. So we had the icy poles and we had all cold drinks or ice drinks in there, and even just being able to freeze a bit of food. So we had frozen fruit for smoothies, which is fantastic. And
for the
a bit of meat.
Yeah, for the Madigan line, we froze quite a bit of meat. Even because we only run a 40-litre fridge in the rear, it's really not that much space. So having that extra bit of freezer room to freeze a bit of extra meat was actually really good. Worked really well.
Yeah, it's a good size. Yeah, really liked it. So that was fantastic. The trip, we loved it. Yeah. Next thing on the list, shower tent.
Yes.
So 23.0 shower tent that we put on before we left, and we loved it. Yeah. We used it a fair bit.
Yeah. Yeah. We, like Matt and I, make an effort to shower and try and feel clean and be clean on the road. So just it was so quick and easy to set up. The most time-consuming thing of the shower was probably everything else like the shower head and having to set all of that up. But other than that, the shower tent was great. Inbuilt light's fantastic, so you can have a shower at night, still be able to see what you're doing. Yep. It's great. Yeah. Yeah.
So good little unit, that one. And last, we've already talked about it when we said. The upgrades with the awning, really good, freestanding awning. Can't wait to use that more.
Yeah.
So before we get into things that didn't really work for us on the trip or things that we wish we did differently, probably wondering why there's a giant koala behind me. So I painted it. I do paintings. I do a bit of artwork. I've been doing a lot since I've been home. We do have the originals up for sale on our website. Yeah. So if you care to check out some of my art, love the support.
Yeah.
And you can get something like this. I'm actually making the frames as well now, so getting right into it. So check that out. If you're just wondering why there's a giant bird behind me, we meant to mention it at the start, didn't we? Anyway, we completely forgot. So sorry if you've been a bit vexed about that.
Yeah.
All right, things we didn't like. So first up, we left in winter, and we packed a heap of winter clothes and no summer clothes, and by the time we got up to tropical North Queensland, we had to go.
Even before that, but when we got to Alice, we needed to go buy shorts and stuff.
Yeah, we needed to buy some different clothes, so we probably should have bought a bit more of a variety.
Yeah.
Even just going like on the Plenty Highway.
It was hot.
It was hot up in the Northern Territory, so
That's the thing about, I suppose, because we came from the Snowy Valley, so like winter here is cold. But winter in the desert is still hot during the day, but still very cold at night. So you need a good variety of stuff.
Yeah, need a bit of a variety, but we had to post heaps of clothes back. Yeah. A couple of different loads, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, a bit
shout out to Penny, Matt's mum, for doing lots of post runs
receiving
for
all
us.
our parcels on the road.
Yeah.
Okay, next thing would be a bigger fridge. So Holly didn't touch on it before. We only had a 4-litre fridge that was actually a 40-litre fridge, which is actually our original fridge from our big lap.
Yes.
That we had in the Hilux. We bought that thing. It was one of our first big camping purchases. We bought it before we had a battery, so I used to run it off the cigarette lighter in the ute and then just turn it off when we got to camp.
Yeah, so it's probably been going for
with a bit of ice,
since 2017 or something.
Yeah, even earlier, maybe.
Wow,
Could be 2016 purchase.
Wow.
Anyway, the old Audi fridge is going really well, but 40 litres, this isn't big enough.
No, we did for a little bit have a 45-litre fridge, an Oz Trail one, which was great.
Good size.
It was a good size. The fridge itself
was not great.
Yeah,
it broke.
Yeah, it did break, but the size, the extra 5 litres, was very noticeable for us. So
it was those ones you get from Anaconda. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
No
Anyways, the Audi ones lasted fantastically, but yeah, it's just not enough space, especially with beers. You need to put one beer in, take a beer out, things like that.
Probably more so for the majority of the trip, it's actually okay.
But it's the remote stuff.
It's the remote stuff. So the Simpson, we had to cram some food.
Yeah.
And I remember you had to pack that fridge, and then all the stuff at the top doesn't get very cold. And, so bigger fridge would be nice. Our old awning. Now, there were definitely pluses. I really like that awning. It's a good awning. It doesn't have guy ropes. You can peg the feet in, which is fantastic.
And it saved us in Dolby.
Yeah,
it
it's
was in Dolby.
super windy conditions, crazy winds. I really don't think there would be many awnings that would be able to hold up to that kind of wind with a wall on. That was crazy. But then a few things we didn't like about it. That style of awning, as I said, very convenient, very light and very strong and stable. But in tropical North Queensland, when it was raining, we'd stop over for lunch and we couldn't get out and prep some food. We're trying to, wanted to make a sandwich or something. You can't just put the awning out
because it was raining.
Because it was raining, and also we're in a car park, so it was we couldn't peg the feet into the car park, and we couldn't really find a dirt section. So that was where we were we just want that instant up. It just suits our style of travel more.
Yeah.
So there was definitely a lot of pluses to that awning, but there's a few times on the trip where I was I really wish we had a freestanding awning, which we have now.
Yeah.
So the next thing, we had too much stuff.
Yeah.
Too much stuff in the back. For some of the trip, for the shows and that, we had a lot of merchandise in the car. So we had boxes of merchandise, boxes of beer.
Yeah.
We had so much stuff. So, but even sort of some of the normal parts of the trip, we would have the middle aisle just full of stuff. Table, chairs.
Jerry can.
Yeah.
What else do we have? Chairs, step, and then that kind of takes away from stopping over for lunch and being able to get in the back if it was raining.
We would have to pull all the stuff out. So
on the way home, we carried extractors. It was. Yeah. So we just had and we definitely gained a lot of stuff as well. Yeah. Yeah.
So in the future, I think we would just like to have a place for everything. I think that's quite important if
especially
you're traveling
cameras.
Around.
Yeah.
Our needs are probably a bit different to some people with all our camera bags and stuff as well. We are working on a better system, and we have a lot of plans and ideas in that regard. But we really just want to find a home for everything, so the aisle is clear. That's a big must. So if you're traveling around, try and cut down. Less is more, and just try and free everything up just to make it convenient. Yeah. So that would be one thing. Now, we touched on it before. The next thing that sort of really grinded our gears in the trip was the starting gremlins in the car.
Yeah.
We just speak about it. Look, we've got an older car. You've got to expect, things to go wrong, which they did. But it does wear on you a bit when you're traveling around, having that sort of constant stress about things breaking.
Is it going to start this morning?
There's that feeling of when it does go wrong, you're like, oh, far out, what's going on? Why are my batteries charging? And
Oh, I forgot about that.
It's sort of, it's one of those things. You've got an older vehicle, just to keep in mind when you're traveling around that things will go wrong, and you just got to be mentally prepared for it because it wears you down. It's a bit frustrating. So that was just one of the other things that got a bit old for the trip. One thing we noticed on this trip, maybe more so because we were in tropical North Queensland. Queensland wasn't in lockdown. Everyone was from New South Wales and Victoria. They had escaped the lockdowns.
Yeah.
So it was really, really busy in Queensland. Now, I kind of have a feeling places are getting busier just in
Yeah.
general. You know, I think people are travelling domestically.
Due
more
to
so
COVID
now.
and due to just the fact that, I don't know, it is a great thing to do. That's why we've done it, and that's why we continue to do it, and that's why we tell people to do it. But
Yeah, it's getting on. Gets
busier.
busy. Yeah, it's getting busy, and probably social media has a thing to do, something to do with that as well. Channels like this, we're encouraging people to get out there. We can show them that you can do it. So whatever your budget and whatever your vehicle. So yeah, it's just something to keep in mind. It's an interesting thing that we noticed on the road. All right, going to the places that we absolutely loved.
Simpson Desert.
Yeah.
I think that was the highlight from my year, from 2021.
Yeah,
The
it
Simpson,
really felt like an accomplishment doing this Madigan line.
In LC?
In LC. Doing it with Adrian was fantastic. He was,
Great to
real
travel
pleasure
with,
to travel with. And it was just different, and it felt remote. It definitely wasn't busy.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of hoping, because you read things about the Madigan line that you don't see cars for 9 days, and we did see a few cars our first day on the line, but that's all right. We
Yeah,
saw
4
3 cars. That's all right.
Yeah, a couple of days in, but
Yep.
QAA was a bit busier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really
was
glad we
definitely
did do the Madigan, because initially we were going to do one of the other tracks that went into SA, but because we couldn't get into SA, we decided to do the Madigan line. So yeah, I'm really, really glad we did that.
Tropical North Queensland was fantastic. It was a bit bougier, the
Yeah.
travel style that we did. One, we did a bit of work for Tropical North Queensland, so we did stay in some hotels,
Yeah.
and we did some nice experiences, ate out at some nice restaurants, and
Snorkeled the reef and
snorkeled the
stuff.
reef, and did some really fun things. So
Yeah.
that was nice. That was a highlight for sure. And just that whole area is stunning. The
Yeah.
Daintree
Yeah.
is just
Very
magnificent. It's beautiful. So that was definitely a highlight for me. Even actually Undara and Blencoe Falls campgrounds
Yeah.
probably was either, well, let's be honest,
That and the one in WA were probably
one in
our
WA.
favourite,
We're sort of
yeah.
being a bit cagey about it, but it was. Yeah, that was an amazing campground.
Good company as well.
Good company on that trip as well.
Yeah.
All right.
That's probably another highlight, just travelling from Adelaide to Perth with everyone from the Adelaide show. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things we wished we did differently. I have one.
Okay.
I kind of wish, I reckon next time we travel, I'd like to slow it down a bit.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
We rush around a lot.
A lot.
It's probably a little bit to do with the work we're doing, because we have to be there for that.
We have to be in, like, internet service.
Yeah, so that's part of it.
Yeah.
But, you're constantly trying to film things, and I kind of just want to slow it down a bit
Yeah.
and actually enjoy a spot. Like,
Yeah.
actually stay in a spot for a couple of days and, go into a caravan park and
Yeah.
just stay for a week, like Mission
Yeah.
Beach or something. That would be
Yeah.
fantastic. And, go and eat out a bit and go to the beach.
Yeah.
Don't feel like we're just
Have that,
constantly
like,
driving.
yeah, have that work-life balance, because at the moment now our travel is our work. So we kind of need to differentiate when we're actually working and when we're kind of having a weekend, or you know what I mean?
It's hard. It's hard to have a weekend or a day off because you're like, okay, I feel like I should be doing something.
Yeah.
And even vice versa, sometimes it's hard to work because you're like, oh, I kind of, I don't know.
When we got to Mission Beach, I was so exhausted from filming. I remember saying to you that I've just lost all motivation, and Matt said, well, let's just take 2 days off.
Yeah.
So we did, and we just sat on Mission Beach for, camped there at the caravan park for 2 days and just did nothing. Cameras didn't come out. So yeah, I think we need to do that a bit more.
Yeah, slow it down a bit, and actually sort of try and have a trip and enjoy the travel as well. Which we do, and I love filming. I love the work. It's not that much of a chore for me because
it's like
when we're out traveling, at the end of the day, for us it is an opportunity to make money.
Yeah.
Which we need to take advantage of.
Yeah.
We need to do it. We need money just like everyone else. That's
Yeah.
how you have options in today's society. So,
Yes.
it's just finding that little balance for us, which I think we're working on. But slow it down. I'd like to slow it down next time around.
I think that's a good idea.
All right. Well, hope you enjoyed that little wrap up. Hope it wasn't too wordy.
Yeah. Hopefully you got some useful things out of it.
Yeah. But thanks for watching last year. Really, really appreciate it. Heaps coming up this year. We should be going to Tropical North Queensland in a few weeks, actually.
Yes.
Something a little bit different. We're actually flying up.
Yep.
because we'd probably die if we drove Aussie.
Yeah.
So we're flying up, and we're actually getting a hire vehicle, which I don't know, we probably won't announce now, but it's just different.
It's just
something a bit
different.
different. We're just giving it a go.
Yeah.
And it is primarily we're up there for work. So
Yeah.
work at Tropical North Queensland, just doing a bit more work for the tourism board up there,
Yep.
which is exciting. So we'll do that next.
Yeah, and we're excited for the rest of the year. Hopefully, film a few more weddings. We're actually shooting a wedding, doing photos in 2 weeks' time, actually. So
Yeah.
a lot of stuff coming up. and-
Yes, that's all actually part of our media side of the business. So if you do have a wedding coming up, or if you know someone who's getting married and they want some photographers or videographers, definitely
Yeah.
throw our name in the mix there. We're really getting stuck into that, and we would
Yeah.
love to come and shoot your special day. All right, thanks for watching the wrap up, guys. We'll hope to see you again soon, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.